you see from Drew in the Kansas City game with the conditions and then falling behind, how he handled that?
Yeah, I thought he handled it pretty good. I mean, obviously we got to play better as a group, the whole team, and he has to do some things better. But I thought, considering that he got hit a few times and he showed some real toughness. I thought playing from behind in that stadium, it wasn't too big for him. I thought he didn't let the weather get under his skin and bother him. He's got to learn from those experiences. But overall, I thought he showed composure, and he's got to fix some things and do some things better. But I thought overall, I was pleased with how he handled the conditions.
When he's not accurate, like a couple times in that game, what's usually the issue?
It could be a combination of things. I mean, a few of the accuracy issues were the weather. Some of it was him kind of, the pocket being on him and him backing up a little bit, not having his feet underneath him. But I honestly don't put too much into that. He's shown to be very accurate. It's a whole different deal when you're throwing in those kind of conditions, and you have to learn from. And I think he will.
Coach Drew has talked about his gunslinger mentality. In your experience working with quarterbacks, what is it like managing that attribute?
That's a good one. He, I think that it's his nature to be fearless, and that's what you like about him. I think he's, again, it's not too big for him in these situations, which you appreciate about him, and I think that's part of the gunslinger mentality. I think if he makes a mistake, if he shows in this league that he can continue to fight back from that, I think that proves you have that mentality. But I think as a person, I think he's got the right temperament, and it's always finding that balance between being a playmaker and being dynamic in that way, and then playing within the system that you can make people around you better. And I think he's done a good job of that, and we got to continue to see that the next 2 weeks.
Sometimes kids like that can be so confident they're not open to coaching, but it seems like from what you guys have explained, one of the reasons he's done well in his cameo is he has taken to coaching.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And he's taken to coaching pretty well in your mind?
Yeah, no, he's been I really have appreciated that about him. The people in Missouri said a lot of very good things about Drew as a person, so we expected that when we drafted him, and that's one of the reasons John and all felt so strongly about him as well. I think he is very perceptive. He's been open to listening to Joe Flacco. He's been open to observing people and learning from what they do. And then he's been very into the room and the process of developing his craft. And that goes along with taking the coaching and applying it in his own way.
How involved has Joe been with helping his?
Joe's done a great job. I've really, I've been very fortunate. Joe is, to get injured like he did and have it what happened. He's had a great attitude, and he's been there for Drew. He's been very supportive of him, and he's been a real pro. And you can't measure what a young quarterback can sponge up from the experiences of an older guy, and then an older guy helping him in pregame and the sideline routine, all those things, those years of knowledge. It's a commodity that you can't put a stat on, but you feel it in the building, and Drew's been very fortunate to get that from Joe.
The interception that happened in the end zone, targeting fans, what do you hope he takes away from that? What was supposed to happen?
Yeah, I mean, that's the gunslinger mentality, I guess. But no, he has to learn from that. He made a lot of splashy plays in college and stuff, and you want to explain to every quarterback that it's just different in the NFL. It was a keeper that was supposed to not go backside, and Noah got hung up and improvised, and then he just saw him out of the corner of his eye and he threw it. On a good day, that's not a great decision. It's a terrible decision. In that situation, I just explained to him, Drew, in the end, there's no 21-point touchdowns. It's the third quarter. We're not out of this game. Let it come to you, and you have to do that. And I felt like he forced it and was trying to make a play, and it would have been 2nd and 10, and we could have came back and scored on the next play. So he has to bank those reps, and Drew's been good about that and not making the same mistake twice.
Courtland went over 1,000 yards the other day. From the time you started work with him in the spring, where has he made his best strides?
I just think he has improved in every aspect, both mentally, his approach to the game, learning the game, knowing his craft, just his overall confidence, his feel for the offensive system, he just has that it quality that, every team has a couple guys on it. You always think about that are your bell cows, your guys that are just made of the right stuff, and he has everything it takes to be great. And I'm just proud of him, and he's a leader. He works at it, and it's important to him. It's important to anyone on this team, and just been very fortunate to be around him, and I think he'll continue to ascend.
The the amount of penalties he's drawn by the opponent. Is
Yeah.
that an art?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, we watch a lot of Julio film. I mean, I always felt like Julio is the best receiver I've ever seen. He's just he was a different person, and he has a lot of those same qualities. It just, when you have length and speed and power, it is very difficult for a DB in a one-on-one position because he can jump ball you, out-rebound you in a sense, and that's hard on a smaller guy. And he can blow by you with his pad level and power. And I just, if he's in one-on-one, he's going to draw holding calls, PI calls, and he's going to put a lot of pressure on defensive backs.
What do you see from the running game this week to get out of the funk it's been in the last 7 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, each week's a little bit different. We have to do a better job as a whole group, just blocking it, and then me sticking to it and all that. But again, I don't want to make too much of that because it's evolving like it all. But the Houston game, they forced us into a world where you needed to throw the football, and they played close to the line of scrimmage, and we were able to exploit that. Last week, the weather conditions, we're trying to stay balanced, and then you come out at halftime and you score late, then they score, and all of a sudden it's 23-3, and you don't want to go away from your offense, but you have to have a sense of urgency, and at some point we got away from it, and that's where the throws came in, and really you lose that balance. This week, you want to play from the front, you want to get after these guys early, and you want to be balanced, and you want to do what we always do whatever it takes to win the game, and if that's running the ball, we got to do a better job of doing that.
Coach, sticking with
Where's Dalton Reisner improved the most from the beginning of the season?
Again, a lot like a lot of rookies, he was probably the most polished of the group coming in, just where he was at as a player mentally and his confidence and where he saw himself in this league. I felt like he was equipped to handle it from day one, so there was never a hesitation about him being the starter. And I think he's just gotten more confident, and he's understanding our offense, the league, and then I think you learn the players you play against. As you see them over and over, D coordinators, how they attack an offense, he's a student of the game, and he's perfecting his craft.
Coach, back to the running backs for a moment. You've now had almost a full season being able to analyze what this group of running backs has been able to do for this offense and how they complement one another.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like there's ways that they can complement this offense and the offense complement them more? Or is there a way that the running backs of this group specifically can improve?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a constant evolution. We've had different QBs and different linemen in and out, and different things have gone on. But I think overall they've done a good job. I think that, Phillip is everything you'd hoped he'd be. He's tough, he's physical, he's into it, it matters, he's a leader. And I think he'll continue to get better and better in this offense. As he gets more comfortable with it, we get better at doing the techniques, and we put him in a position to be successful. But overall, I think the group's done a good job, and they'll only get better the longer they do it.
Last one here, Ernie. When you work with young quarterbacks and they come off of a poor performance, does their bounce back ability, does that weigh any more in your evaluation, or is there anything more that you look for to see how they handle?
Yeah, I think you're always looking at the overall scope of their career and how they trend and get better week to week. I don't put it'll be a big measure for Drew this week to see how he responds against Detroit, but I don't think it's the end-all, be-all. I think the first 2 weeks were what they were. I think that environment, the weather, the way the game went, it's about as bad as you're going to. I told him before the game, and I stand by it, this will be as difficult as it ever gets against a really good opponent that's going to put pressure on our offense to score in these environment. You got to learn from it, and I thought he handled it well. I think he'll bank that, and I think he'll continue to step forward. And we'll see these next 8 quarters how he plays, but I think he'll trend the right direction.
Thank you, Rich.